I think we'll start off with Beatbuddy. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So, due to technical constraints, only 2 of us were actually able to play and beat the game. But we have a lot to say about it. So, as you can see, we have some gameplay up on the screen right now.
By the way, those 2 were Austin and Aaron.
Yeah,
not to be confused.
Austin and Aaron, Austin and I, we played together, and in total, it was about roughly 6 or 7 hours. It's a very music-based game. As you can see, everything's sort of moving in time with a rhythm, and if you could hear the game right now, you would see that everything's moving in time with like this fantastic electro swing soundtrack. Because the soundtrack is really the highlight of the game.
It's not like most music-based games where you're playing with the music and controlling it, but more you're fighting against the music.
Right, exactly. Because the world is the song. You're not sort of creating it. It's just there. But the game world functions on that logic, the logic of the song. You have to figure out, okay, well, if the song is this beat and every other beat this happens, I must move on this beat to avoid the trap that happens on this other beat, right?
So the song controls what's going on around you, and your goal is to work within the parameters of that song, rather than some games where what you do actually creates the song.
Exactly. I mean, like,
right.
It's not like Guitar Hero where your actions dictate like what sounds activate or whatever.
All right, cool.
Like, one example is like a stream of projectiles might be constantly flowing towards you, and let's say like on the beat they won't hurt you, but off the beat they do.
Oh, okay.
So you have to time it so that you have to dash forward through the stream of projectiles right on the beat so you don't get hit by them. And if you accidentally hit it off the beat, then you just get kind of crushed.
Is something like that fairly doable, or is the gameplay, like, in terms of the controls, are they intuitive? And
well, let's talk about it first off. So the world is based on music. Yeah, we have that covered. But how is the actual gameplay, like, how is it done? Because of the underwater sort of physics, certain things that should be easy aren't. Like it's sometimes it's hard to time how things will move.
Oh yeah.
Okay, as an example, like there are 2 kinds of ways that you move in this game. One way you're just yourself, just swimming through the water. The other way is you're in a vehicle, and the vehicle always moves to the beat. So instead of moving just in a constant stream of motion, you move in jumps. So it's like beat, 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 and then if you press your dash button, then you can dash twice as far, so you could.
But only every other beat.
Right, only on the 2nd and 4th beat, so it could be like 1 dash, 2 dash. So that's the fastest you can move in your vehicle.
However, if you miss that beat, then you're screwed. I mean, like, you don't have access to the dash until the next off beat.
So quite a lot of the gameplay mechanics are heavily integrated with the music, right?
Right, but that's to its detriment at times, because like that dash mechanic we were talking about, how it pushes you every other beat, if you manage to do it, you can only probably get like 2 or 3 dashes in a row before the dashes force you to be off beat, which then results in you not being able to dash for a while.
Let's say there's a stream of projectiles, and then you have to time your dashes through it. Well, independently of the dashes that are on the beat, you're just moving sort of independently of the beat. So like, let's say if I'm moving towards like a wall of projectiles, I might have to temporarily stop so then I can dash and then be on the beat. Whereas if I just keep moving, then the timing won't work, and then I'll just hit the wall of projectiles.
So sometimes you have to like coordinate when you're going to be off beat.
Right, so that's another example of how it's working against the music in a way as opposed to with the music.
Okay.
It's like the enemies and the whole environment is kind of in sync with itself, like by music, whereas you are sort of...
You're like an outsider. You're an outside force, kind of.
Okay, so you're coming into this world. Okay, that makes sense.
So
right.
When you're a person, you feel like outside of the beat, you can't just get in that perfect sync where you dodge all the obstacles. But when you're a vehicle, you feel kind of constrained by it.
Right, because like when you're in a vehicle, moving along with the beat sort of helps with certain puzzle elements, because it means that if you move, like if you dash on the 2nd beat, it's going to work. Because that's just how it's designed, how it's set up along with the song. But where that's bad for the vehicle is when you have like these segments where like you have to move in time with chains of enemies with a small gap, and you fit into that gap, and you move along with them, but their movement is bigger than yours or shorter than yours, even though they're moving along with the same beat you're moving in. And you can't just move when you want to move. You got to move with the beat. So you have to compensate and maybe not move on a beat when you could have, and then dash the next 2nd beat you can. So it does not flow the way it should.
And another reason that when you're in a vehicle, you'd probably rather move not on the beat. It would be a lot more free because there's some parts where you have to shoot down enemies with your vehicle, and you have to line up the shots. And since you can only move like in bursts, sometimes you want to move in between, like where it would have you move,
Oh,
just
yeah.
find a
Very
good
hard.
shot.
Very hard.
Yeah.
So
Very element.
Is it optional? Like, do you see a vehicle and
No,
you're like,
you have to.
you
do
have to
it.
get in?
You've
Okay.
got to get in. The one nice thing though that I loved about the vehicle segments is that when you're in the vehicle, it puts all of the sound elements you've been hearing through the level into the actual song. It's still a loop, and like sometimes that can be grating, but it's nice to finally hear all the little bits and pieces come together into something really cool.
That's cool.
But of course, when you get out, it's like bits and pieces again.
But does the loop ever help you, like, in terms of like learning what's gonna come and what happens when, or is it too?
Yes
similar?
and no. I mean, like it depends. It totally depends.
For some enemies, like the snails that shoot projectiles, like
oh
they
god.
might, like every one of their projectiles is like a note on the guitar. So like let's say there's a guitar riff, like, where it goes like ding ding ding. Then if you can remember how that guitar loop is going to happen, then you know exactly where the bullets are going to come in.
And when to move.
Oh, okay,
Exactly.
so it can help you.
However, if you have a lot of those crab shooty dudes and they're all firing at like different parts
Oh, they
of the
fire
song,
different beats. Okay.
right? Exactly. They fire different beats, different guitar licks, different keyboard licks, and you have to figure out which one individually corresponds to which sound,
That
and then
makes
you have to decipher which sound and when to move. And like if you look at it, it's just it's this big mess of bullets. Like you don't know, you can't figure out when to move.
So at that
So-
point, you're kind of just working visually. and
right,
avoiding what you
exactly.
see.
At that point, it's
Yeah.
useless. Like listening to the song would just confuse you more.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you go through these 6 levels, but what's the difference between each one? Are they progressively harder? Is it faster paced? Is it just something new because they couldn't, like?
Well, it's hard to say.
Kind
'Cause
of a new
the
song.
first 3, I'd say each one successfully introduces a new gameplay element.
I'd say the first 3 are also a lot more puzzle focused. There are
Yeah.
a lot of these parts where there are these mirrors that you have to rotate in order to ultimately bounce yourself off of them, then maybe like break down an obstacle. And
Okay.
the second half, there were definitely some puzzles, especially towards the end. There's a really big puzzle,
which is
but-
actually pretty good, I think. The one of the big last ones.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
But for the most part, I think the last 3 levels are more about actions that require like very specific timing, or just like you knowing the level.
If you had to put it on 1 to 10, what do you think you'd give it?
Okay, for me, I definitely enjoyed the game. I mean, it definitely did have issues also. There were some frustrating parts, and especially the escort mission. But I'm definitely glad I played through it once. And for that, I'm going to give it, tentatively for now, I'll say 6.1-ish out of 10.
61 out of
average.
100.
So
All
definitely
right.
on the good side. Definitely the good side.
Okay. All right. Yeah. I can see where you're coming from. I mean, like there were a couple parts that I played through that were just really frustrating because I felt that sometimes the game thought that if it was annoying, that would be challenging, as opposed to challenge being, the puzzles themselves.
See,
or
that
like
kind of thing
whatever.
just makes me mad. That's
Right,
all it
no,
does.
it made me mad too, and like at one point I even wanted to stop playing, but
Yeah.
I gotta finish it, I gotta get through it, and so I don't know, I'd say 6 is probably pretty fair because like the art is great, the music is fantastic, and I love that these guys, just these 3 guys had a dream and they put it together, and
And there were some very good puzzles, especially I think it was either level 2 or level 3. Like, I could have been playing something made by, like professional developers who have been doing this like their whole lives and who are like world famous. Like, it was very good puzzle design.
absolutely,
Well,
I totally agree.
And before we transition, we said it was like $15, right?
Yeah, no, it's
Is it
definitely-
worth? Is a game that's only a 6 out of 10? Is that worth $15 to you?
At $15, it is just worth your time. It is just barely. It's on the cusp. It passed.
So
Go-
it's about worth $15.
Right, like go play it once.
I would recommend checking it out for a Steam sale.
Agreed. If you can get this on Steam sale, definitely pick it up and play through it once. And I'm excited to see what these guys do next because I think that they've got some great ideas and they got some
Definitely.
they got some good people working alongside with them to make their dreams come true. And
Hopefully they hear the feedback.
yeah, no, I hope they do. I hope that they do hear the feedback. And I know a lot of people in the industry do like what they did. So hopefully, they'll have a sequel and next time around.
It'll elaborate on those flashes of
yeah,
brilliance.
exactly.